right.
There we are. We are live.
Is there anybody out there?
Oh, that we got a few people in. I need to let's see. Well, we got a couple of people waiting and I need to mute. There we go.
All right.
Yeah, man, I was never a big show. I before all of this happened last fall, I was up to around 18 to 20, sometimes a little more, sometimes a little less people. It's always been a small show, and it
I
was
mean,
really
that's honestly pretty good. I mean, like, I remember when I did Twitch, like, there's people that would never crack, 2-3 concurrents.
right. I
Back
remember
then,
you
yeah.
used to do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this last couple of videos you did on average 10 thrift store visits a day for a full week, for a full 70. On top of that, you did a private pick. You also, I think did you hit a yard sale or was it an estate sale?
I hit, well, it was a yard sale that was like in her living room, but she called it a garage sale. And then
Okay.
I did hit an estate sale that didn't make it into the
Right.
video because I didn't buy
I
anything
think
at
you
all.
mentioned
And yeah, so there was, I guess, 73 real things I did sourcing wise that week, which,
Right.
I mean, honestly, is probably excessive. It was,
That was did you have any time at the end of the day to actually get any listing done? I know you showed a couple of things that were sold.
Jess was actually keeping up with the listing that week, so she was doing like the stuff as it came in, which quite honestly is like how we should do it, but you know how it goes. You end up with like the whole room just full of stuff that you need to list. And
oh, speaking of which, I don't know if anybody remembers what I had this shop behind me fairly close to being set up, cleaned up, and organized. But last month I get an email from my storage unit place and they upped my rent significantly. And I was like, no. So I ended up taking a lot of stuff to the dump to make room to bring all my stuff in storage back. I was talking about that a little bit before we started. I had probably 3 plastic totes full of cables and controllers and power supplies and a couple of systems that I didn't have the right stuff for, like an old original NES system, just a console only. I had no way to test it, and I don't know if you've ever been in one of those moods to get rid of stuff, but I just threw it all in the back of the truck and took it to the dump.
I mean, a lot of that stuff, like an NES like that, you can throw it up on eBay for parts. And
well, I was running short of time. I had to get out of that storage unit, and I really needed room to work. Let's see. We've got Mountain State Picker in the house. Regina from they do the Hump Day Hangout.
Okay.
Let's see who else we got. Tina with the Lek Exchange. She's one of my longtime subscribers. Christopher Nutter, everybody's friend. I love Christopher. He's a good guy. Let's see. We got the Philly Flipper in the house, even though he's in Florida. And Lucky 19 Tees. That is a new name for
Florida
me.
Flipper.
Everybody tonight.
Paul the Florida Flipper.
I tried to get him to change that name. I told him you can even spell Florida with a PH. He wouldn't go for it.
Oh, that's the Jessica there.
Oh, uh-oh. That's something up. There we go. Is you said Lucky 19 was Jess?
No, Jessica's in there is just Jessica.
Oh, hi, Jessica. How are you? I'm looking at 2 different screens, and it's just now.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I've got a big screen set up over here that I do most of my work on, but when I'm streaming live, I have to look over here to the laptop. So it gets a little confusing for me sometimes.
Jess is Paul's favorite part of the Pro Picker channel. I suppose, the Pro Picking Princess.
There you go, the Pro Picking.
I mean, if you want to start talking, we can hook another mic up in here, Jess.
Yeah, come on in.
Yeah.
That would actually be pretty awesome. I mean, you guys are a pretty good team.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. It's kind of interesting, like she said, maybe in a bit.
Okay.
like we have a pretty good working dynamic, like and stuff. And I think like on camera, it's pretty decent in my opinion. But
It's
like
a
I
lot
feel
of
like
people's opinion.
since like she went full time and she's joined the channel more.
Yeah.
I feel like there's people that'll watch like a one-off video and they'll see something and they'll like project like their own life experience onto like our marriage. And it's
Yeah.
like, no, like this is just us joking around, or this is just
I think I did that to you one time, kind of joking around.
that's different. I mean, there's some
Yeah.
people that take it like really seriously, and
Yeah.
on both sides of the fence, like they'll I mean, obviously like I'm the one that's probably gone after more, but they'll also go after her and like be like, yeah, he's so personable. And it's like, no, I've had like 10 times the practice on camera that she's had.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So, obviously speaking to a camera is completely different than like how you are in real life. I mean, it's just how it is. I mean,
I don't know. I think a lot of some of the better people that I keep track of, I think they're I think their
Paul's a
on-camera
natural
personality is not too far from reality.
Well, yeah, I get that. But I mean, obviously handle yourself like in a different way. Like, obviously, you're talking to, like, right now I'm speaking to you, but if I was actually like doing like an intro to a video, I'm probably speaking to no one. So it's kind of like that dynamic. Like, yeah.
The Lucky 19's name is Michelle, and she's normally in Roman's live. I don't know if you know. Do you know who Roman is? He does the he does a live show, and it's called The Most Unprofessional Reseller Live Show, or something like that. Somebody drop Roman's link in the chat.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen that one. I'll subscribe if somebody links it.
He's pretty cool.
I'll check it out.
But he does a lot of top 10 lists and things like that. In fact, I think you made a couple, at least one of his lists.
Oh, most cruel yard sale negotiator.
No, I think it was the best husband and wife teams.
Oh, okay. Really?
So
good.
how long has
I
it
like
been
that.
since is she full-time with you now, or?
She is. So January of last year's when she quit her corporate job. And it's kind of a interesting, like, I mean, we sort of planned to do it eventually.
Right.
And then the conversation just came up and it was like, well, I mean, we're making more obviously combined like social media and reselling side. And she was working that part-time anyways at that point, but kind of like a second full-time job almost. You know how it is.
Yeah.
And I was basically working 2 full-time jobs at reselling and YouTube. So it just kind of made sense to bring her in on it and just have her do that. And I mean, of course, get the ups and downs with it, the health insurance that you have to pay like crazy rates for and all of that. But I mean, it's just one of those things. I mean, you get it because I mean, you work for yourself as well doing, reselling. But I mean, you get the freedom to do what you want, but you do end up having to work like twice as many hours.
A lot of people don't understand how many hours you got to put in. It's like, oh, you can just do that for an hour and then you got the rest of the day. It's like, no.
I think there's some
more than an hour just to get set up and ready to start work.
Yeah, I think there's some people that might be able to make a living like putting in like the 30-hour work week, but like I don't think it's prosperous. I think, it's probably
But I tell people all the time, I don't care if you work for yourself or not, but especially if you work for yourself, the more you put into it, the more you get out of it. And
absolutely.
What you put into it is what you're going to get out of it. If you're lackadaisical and you don't put in the work and the research, you're not going to get a very good return. There's more to it than just going to Goodwill, snatching something off the shelf, running sold comps, coming home, taking pictures and listing it. There's a little bit more to it. The sold comps are probably one of the most misunderstood sections of what we do. Because I hear it all the time and it kind of irks me a little bit, but people talk about a sell-through rate.
Okay.
It's not a rate, it's a ratio of listed versus sold over the last 90 days. A rate is a measurement of speed.
Yeah.
It is And also one of the things that a lot of people don't understand about looking up sold comps is a lot of the stuff that is listed and a lot of the stuff that is sold have nothing to do with the item you're looking up.
Right. No, that's true. Because
So
you're looking at the search. What you literally put in the search bar is the
right.
results you're getting for
Yeah.
both what's listed and what's sold.
Well, one of the things that comes to mind within the last couple of months, I found a Nestle Quick spoon. Had a little rabbit on it. It was for
I remember those.
yeah.
Yeah, I think I had
Well,
one of
there's
those.
2 different versions of those things. So you
Oh
look it
yeah.
up and they're selling for $5-6. However, there's 1 or 2 that sell for $80 or $90. And the one I found was one of the $80 or $90 ones. And if I didn't know to really look at the sold comps, I probably wouldn't have bought the thing.
No, I find that all the time where like you're searching and there's like 2 versions of something. So then like you're like, okay, so 6 of these sold, but only like 1 of these sold, and there's
Right.
40 of them listed. So you have to like really like look when you're doing the searches. I mean, there's some things you can do, obvious, like cursory glances and stuff. And it's like,
Yeah.
you know, if you know it's Patagonia and you know what style it is and you search it or whatever, and you see like sometimes you can see like, okay, people have them listed for 40. Maybe I don't even need to hit the sold at that point because
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
Well, yeah, it's Patagonia.
something like that. Yeah. It's
If you find Patagonia or Patagonia, I'm sorry, it's had to call it Patagonia. You find Patagonia at a good price, it's gonna sell.
Yeah, we in the most recent, or not most recent video, but the video I'm working on that should be out tomorrow. So this is like me hyping myself up here. But I mean, that's why that's like why you come on talk shows, right? You talk about your most recent projects.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no,
you know, I do all of I'm not worried about getting monetized. I tried I have so much going on. It's all I can do to keep up with what I got going on. I don't have time to run a YouTube business, but I like hanging out with people in the community and just shooting the breeze and you know, talking shop.
Yeah.
Maybe eventually after I get a few things in my life settled down, maybe I can put a little more effort into videos for YouTube. But for right now, I don't have the time. And it is a lot of time.
Oh yeah.
Especially when you don't know how to edit.
Even like with editing knowledge. So like, okay, so when you first start editing video, you're gonna like be really slow. So then you're gonna find ways to get faster. But then you're like, oh, I want to start doing this. I want to start adding this in. I want to start adding this in. So then you just slow yourself back down again because, and like then you start looking at like the rabbit hole is crazy. So I won't go too far with this. But then you start looking at like retention rates and stuff like that, and you start seeing where people drop off in your videos. So then you know like what to avoid. But what that really means is you're killing like all your dead space. So like instead of 3 thrift store runs making a 16-minute video, you're like 12 thrift store runs to make a 16-minute video so people don't click off. And then it's always so, and then you know like it's the ups and downs. You'll have like a video I'll have a video hit like 150,000 in a month, and then of other videos that just die at like 10K like recently. And so it's just like you're always like either on top of the world or
I do plan on making some shorts and reels. I only recently got back on Facebook.
Okay.
I took a 3.5-4 year break from Facebook. And when I got back on there, I just started joining all of the eBay and reseller groups.
Okay.
And, oh, the bad information that's out there.
I thought about doing doing a group as well, but I just don't know like what value I would like a group.
I have a group I have a group that's 15 or 16 years old now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it has nothing to do with reselling. It's all rocks, gems, and minerals. It's the oldest group of its kind out there, and I put it in mothballs. And when I broke it out, apparently nearly 50,000 people stayed with me even after 3.5 years.
Oh, wow. But
there for a while, it was like herding cats. But no, the reseller groups, there's 2 things about them that get me some really bad advice going around out there. And then there's all of the questions that keep getting asked. And so instead of me typing out these answers to these common questions, I'm just going to make a short video on it and drop my link to it, and thereby get a bunch of views.
No, that's a good way of doing it. I mean, quite honestly, like that's one of the things that's like when it comes to like Reddit or when it comes to like any kind of forum or I guess Facebook group, that like there's a line. It's like the questions that get asked all the time, obviously get annoying. But then at the same point, like if nobody asked any questions and just went to Google, then there'd be no point to have the group.
Yeah.
So then
one of the most basic ones is, oh, my buyer selected priority, but they only paid for ground advantage. And I'm like, no, you got that wrong. When you clicked on purchase shipping label, they're no longer the buyer. You just became the buyer of the shipping label, not your customer.
Right.
So as long as you choose the correct shipping level, you're fine. You got to meet the minimum that was advertised in your listing. And I get so tired of typing all of that out. So I'm just going to make a short video of it. And every time that question gets asked, which is daily, I'm just going to drop a link to the video. It's like the uranium glass. I've already made one of these. It was uranium glass. There was a troll scam going out that eBay was going to take down all the uranium glass listings. Oh. And I fell for it like a dummy, even after all the years. So I've
never seen that.
Yeah, well, in the last couple of months, one of my top things to source has been vintage glass. So, and I've been a glass collector for years. In fact, I'm third generation glass collector. But about 20 years ago, the collectible glass market just took a nosedive, and it's only recently starting to pick up speed again. So,
yeah, there does seem to be renewed interest in it. I have noticed that. We've been honestly probably during thrifting season, we find more glass than we do like out at yard sales and stuff. I don't know, but a lot more Pyrex, for instance, out at thrift stores. And I mean, occasionally you see it out at garage sales. I don't know. I just don't feel like people think to put it out. Maybe
I don't know, but
or all the Pyrex
in my area, it's been washed in a dishwasher, scuffed up, faded, and nasty, but people are wanting full.
Where you see the scratch lines in it and stuff. Yeah.
And
we had a question here.
Okay, where did I miss?
Oh,
Regina it's about Michelle. How did you let Jess get a puppy in your? Did Jess get a puppy?
Okay, so like and near the last video, so that footage, that's the garage sale one that just it was basically all Jessica for that video. That's actually old footage from last garage sale season that I saved, so I'd have something for the winter. And we actually got Moose probably like 2 or 3 months after that. So
well, if you're interested in a puppy, I have a newborn Yorkie puppy, all chocolate, beautiful little puppy.
No, not at this point. I mean, does a puppy go ground advantage?
No, I would hand deliver.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that was something else that came up.
Oh, were they crazy expensive?
Well, yeah, but
she's saying the dogs at the garage sale, I think.
Oh, yeah,
we're crazy expensive. Because we ended up at I had been to that sale too at other times, and she always has like dogs and like a playpen, and then like she'll have like puppies for sale and stuff. And
she like a breeder?
Yeah. Well, I don't know where she's breeding them because it's like in a subdivision. So like if it's like a basement thing. But I've been to that.
I don't know about going all the way to North Carolina, but I do have to make a trip to Nebraska in the next 6 to 8 weeks. And Nebraska's not too much more of a trip to go from there over to Ohio. But all the way across to North Carolina. I used to live in North Carolina. I lived in Jacksonville.
She's mentioning we need more room on the glass shelf to buy more glass.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're actually pretty stuffed on it right now. Again, like thrifting, we tend to find like way more like the staples, like blue cornflower and
Yeah.
Pyrex, and trying to
Well,
think what else we have a lot of right now. But
have you heard of knickknacks.net yet? Over
no,
on
I haven't. Oh wait, yeah, I have. Knickknacks is the crazy lamp
Crazy
lady.
Lamp Lady, Jocelyn.
Yeah, yeah.
I've
So
started
that like
cross listing
district,
all my
right?
glass over there,
Okay.
and it's doing okay. I mean, when it comes to the vintage glass and stuff, Knickknacks is to eBay kind of like Poshmark is to eBay with clothing.
Mm.
So, I mean, I don't know that anything's ever going to surpass eBay, but it's a concentrated group of, well, it's a specific market, but they do everything else too. District is the platform.
Right.
Knickknacks is a sub platform within the platform. I don't know how all that works, but
What would be interesting is like, and I don't know if this would ever happen, but if Vindu or like another service that have never been sponsored by, but sure, them, if they made it to where you could cross post to district or something,
right.
because I know there's other groups too that creators have made, like Dave and Kevin and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's one other.
I'm trying to remember what their name is.
Craigslist Hunter. He's on there. But I haven't looked too much at the other people on.
How's the sales on something like that? Like just like I mean, like you just posting glass there. How's that doing?
It's doing okay. It's still a new platform.
Yeah.
I think they have somewhere in the neighborhood of 36,000 members right now.
Okay.
And there's a little over 2,000 sellers. So
that's pretty substantial.
And they have weekly thing. Well, what I like about it is it's set up more like a community type thing. There's chats. When you go to it, there's like a normal Knickknacks chat. Okay. And you can go in there and you can just tell everybody, hey, I just listed a bunch of Fenton or swung vases or uranium glass or whatever. Then there's sub chat rooms in there specifically just for the sellers. And then there's one on there, like if you find a cool looking piece of glass, you can take pictures of it and post them in there and get help from some really good people identifying the piece of glass you have. Yeah. I had a paperweight that I found 2 weeks ago. I think I paid $1.50 for it. It's a glass paperweight, but it looks like it's got cave art on it.
Oh, okay.
Petroglyph. And it had a signature on the bottom I couldn't make out. And Google Lens was no good. Nothing I could type in on a search would bring it up. I posted it over there and they told me within minutes, somebody chimed in and said, hey, that's this artist and that's this from this collection. And I looked that up and bam, there it was. It's $150 paperweight.
Oh, that's awesome.
So that was a pretty good score.
Yeah. I'll give you $4 for it.
Okay, but you got to pay in person.
Oh, Lord.
Come get it.
Whereabouts are you again? I'm sorry.
Oregon.
Okay. That's a
bit of a drive.
Especially
this time of the year. Some of the high mountain passes are still pretty nasty.
Are they? Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
We've got a whole bunch of little spring storms floating around the valley and the surrounding mountains right now.
I don't think I've never been to Oregon. I've been West Coast wise, I guess California and Arizona. That would be about it.
Yeah.
West of the Mississippi.
Yeah, well, I'm a Navy brat and I was in the Navy myself, and I had a job driving coast to coast and border to border for 13 years before it's not too many places I haven't been. Yes, Jessica, Oregon can be very pretty. In fact, one of the doctors my wife works with, we're going to take her on we have a little route that we come up with that it takes about half to 3/4 of a day where we just go from waterfall to waterfall to waterfall to waterfall. And some of them are a pretty good hike back in the woods, and almost none of them are on the tourist maps. So it's kind of fun. And then there's so much in Oregon within an hour or so drive from here. We got the Oregon coast, And to get to the Oregon coast, you got to drive right through the redwood forest.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So then we got Crater Lake National Park, which is an hour the other direction. We got the Oregon Outback. We've got rocks, gems, and minerals of every type out here. In fact, mine and my wife's wedding bands are made with gold that I panned out of a river about 40-minute drive north of here.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
And we were talking about being in front of cameras. I was actually filmed for a TV show a few years back that never got picked up, but it was in Eastern Oregon, mining opal. And I've also worked at some of the gemstone mines out there, the Oregon Sunstone. Yeah, Phil, Paul, that's a different type of Outback.
Outback, okay, so like that's probably the best value in the casual dining space.
Yeah, except I cook a better steak right here at home.
Oh well, yeah, absolutely.
For a lot less money.
But if you were looking at getting wined and dined, I mean,
yeah,
you know, and they have the lunch specials, so Paul knows all about this.
Yeah. Paul, how's the diet going, man? I know I've been seeing some of the pictures you're posting, and you look like a totally different person, brother. Completely a lot younger and a lot better shape. So how is the new house and the building going?
So you have is that a garage or are you in a barn?
It's a detached garage and it's 24 by 24.
Oh, okay. So it's a sizable garage. Yeah. So well before and I didn't show like a ton of it because like at that time, first off, we only had the one channel, and like on picking YouTube or the reseller side, like there's a ton of people that just aren't interested in the business aspect. So if you start showing like, here's how we have everything organized, and you spend tons of time doing that on like a main channel, it hurts your views. Like so we didn't show a ton of it, but like the old house, it was just like literally like living in the business. Like it was like, okay.
I remember you showed a video down in your basement.
And that was the organized stuff.
Yeah.
And then you start getting it, like, you know, we had another bedroom that was just dedicated to it, and then two bedrooms dedicated to it. I bring in stuff sometimes because I'd be making a video and maybe I need to look at stuff so I could like pull the comps because we hadn't listed it yet and I didn't have all the information. And then some of that stuff would be like under my desk for 3 weeks, and then like, you know, and then you end up with stuff in your living room because like after garage sailing for 6 hours, you know, you bring it in and you put it down, and it just got to a point where we had so much, and it was a house built for a family of 4 to live in, not for like, there wasn't a separate area, you know, that we could really carve out and handle everything. So the house has been awesome. Like as far as like the barn's concerned, I think, you know, we're pretty good to go there. I don't think like we're going to run out of like space anytime soon. Especially like even as you expand, I mean, you're selling off. So like obviously like even if you grow the business in terms of numbers, it's kind of, you know, growth isn't something that just happens exponentially. I mean, eventually, you know, you curve off some. So I think, yeah, we have plenty of room, probably even if like we were to do something like hire an employee or something down the road.
Since you've got that building now and you've got some room to expand, have you thought about doing some of the storage units or pallets?
So I thought about it, and then like literally I wanted to do one this winter, and just everything has like went against that. So like I don't know if you heard, but like I had a calf strain, but it like took me out for probably a week and a half.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, like I recover from that. I go do this challenge, and then like right after that challenge, I got a cold. I don't know if it's cold, COVID, flu, whatever. I stayed home, so nobody else, you know, had it being spread towards them or whatever. And so that took me out for a week. So it's probably more than a cold. But
all right, Paul, I'm going to ask him. Tell me about your gate.
So like the gate like feels like the most pretentious thing on earth, and I don't think
I think I saw it in one of the early videos.
Yeah.
Of your house.
So like, I mean, the thing is, there's very limited amount of like homes in the Dayton area that have like a barn or an outbuilding like that, or space to build one or anything. And honestly, like everything's always hype. Like it's so hot, it's so hyper competitive in the Dayton area to get a property that you basically have to go after every single one that like nearly fits the bill. So I didn't buy it because it had, like, you know, Jess and I weren't like, let's buy this house because it has the gate, but it is kind of a bonus because like we're surrounded by tree line and like literally like no vehicle could come in and just smash and grab our barn real
Right.
easily. Like they would have to like figure out how to circumvent the gate to be able to do all of that. And we do have neighbors on the other side. So I think, they probably hear a bunch of banging trying to, open up a gate and get mad, it's 6 a.m. or whatever. So it is a nice security measure in that sense, but it definitely makes the property seems more pretentious than it is, I think, on video. Because like it's honestly like if you think about the house from like if we were to have a child, which is something that we've discussed and all of that and everything, and who knows where that's ever going to lead, but time's ticking, I guess, but whatever. We would probably have to have an addition on the property because like it's only has a living room, there's no like family room, and then like by the time it's 3 bedrooms and not 4. So I mean, I know this sounds like first world problems, but like it's one of those things where it seems huge because it has the high ceilings, but it's about the same size square footage wise as our previous home. It's just probably a better use of space,
Right.
at least for us. But no, I'm really digging it. Honestly, it's a crazy blessing. Like I had never expected to like have a home like this, really at all. Like first off, like I've always been insanely frugal, so the mortgage is pretty insane. So I'm like,
speaking of which, early on, what were some of the things you did budget wise to help you out?
To help out towards getting the house, or to
Well, no, early on in your reselling career, a lot of people don't understand that when you jump from being part-time reseller or hobbyist or side gig into full-time, you don't have that other source of income anymore. So you have to do some creative budgeting and break some habits in order to get ahead. So did you have to do some stuff like that? And what kind of stuff did you do?
So actually, my circumstance in this is actually relatively unique. I feel like, so when I first got out of the Army, and this was like in, what would that be, 07, which I can't believe is like 16 years ago, 17 years ago now. But whatever.
I've been out long enough to have retired since I got out in 96 or 97. 97.
I'm getting close. If I wait a second, so I went in 2003. Yeah, so I would have been able to retire had I stayed in.
Yeah.
At this point, but I guess they've changed how the retirement works and stuff for people that joined like after me.
They changed a lot while I was in. It seemed like every year they were changing something about retirement. Gulf Coast Picker is in the house tonight. Good to see you, man.
Hey, what's going on, Gulf Coast? So yeah, my situation's a little bit unique in the sense that like I got out of the Army and then like I did reselling, a combination of like full-time and part-time at that point, like on and off. And a lot of it was just like purely to survive because like I got out and the Great Recession hit a few months later, basically, so like nobody was hiring except for like people that weren't paying anything. So like, where you end up in these situations where it's like you're robbing people. And even when I was reselling at that time, it was like robbing Peter to pay Paul, like, hey, calling and seeing if I can get like, an extension on paying this bill so I can pay that bill. And then, you come around by the time you pay this bill, the bill that you got an extension on,
It's due again.
the other bill's due again, and that's due again. Yeah. And so that was happening a ton. And then eventually I went into the whole Twitch thing, and I got my expenses during the Twitch era down to like literally $800 a month. So I had owned a house in Ohio. Technically, you owned the house in a land contract. And for anybody that doesn't know what like a land contract is, it's essentially like somebody else is going to be the person that sells you the house, and they're sort of like a landlord, except for the fact that they have like no responsibilities for the property.
Oh.
But I was paying less, but towards the house than I would have paid in rent. But I was building like equity,
right,
in that sense. And anyways, it was in a really terrible area, really bad, but like in Columbus. And I had my expenses down to basically like $800 a month plus food. And so like, yeah, it was pretty crazy. Like, and we're talking like utilities, all of that. But yeah, I was like, I had a home break in there. It was a pretty bad place, but regardless, I had my expenses really low during that time frame being on Twitch. But I had been also going to school, but it was like the 10-year degree or whatever, right? And when I met Jessica, we eventually get married. I finished my degree and went like into the corporate world. I did some door-to-door cable sales, other sales jobs and stuff in between there. And I don't know. So like essentially just fast forwarding, I end up with a pretty good job for about 3.5 years. But I had some health issues at some point, and like it did hurt my numbers. It was a sales job, right? And then, I bounced back, but then like there was a month, and I was selling to like corporate legal departments and compliance departments and stuff. It was basically like think software as a service. And it was just basically like COVID shutdown hit, and nobody was buying. Like all the departments were just like completely like spending freeze. And I had a zero that month, and that was like, they came back around and they were like, you're done. Which, I mean, honestly, I don't really like how a few things played out there, but like at the end of the day, like, I mean, that's corporations are gonna corporate, right? And and at the you are, if you're a part of a corporation, that's, I think, one of the things people don't necessarily always get. They're like, they talk about like something being like my job, and I use the phrase and the verbiage too, but like at the end of the day, like you get to work that job until like they don't want or need you anymore.
Right.
And so,
and if you leave today, they've got you replaced by the following Monday.
There's security, and then there's that comes with your job, but there's also an insecurity that you get that you could always lose it. And I had that happen to me. Thankfully, I think Jess and I were pretty frugal during like my years working there, and she was also working as well, so we did have some savings and stuff. So I just went right back into reselling. In fact, I even saw like some other creators, like I'll mention like Cincinnati Picker, for instance, and I was like, so these guys are making videos about this stuff, and I was like, I used to do this for years. And I was like, well, I'm going to get back into reselling. And I was like, I'm not just going to start immediately like on videos. Let's get the business going first.
Right.
Let's get to where we're hitting 10K for a couple of months, at least in gross sales. Cause I don't want to be somebody that's like jumping up on YouTube being like, hey, I know what's going on currently, when I don't. And then, start making videos, and I guess the rest is history. So I guess those are kind of the, that's a long-winded story, so I hope there's still some people in the chat.
That's fine, brother. I've actually been on eBay for I think 26 or 27 years now. Wow. My current account is going on 17 years old. I never heard the term reselling until just before the COVID shutdowns. Even though I was doing it, I didn't know there was a community. I didn't know there was a name to it. I was mostly just all auctions. I never put up a buy it now type listing because it cost in those days extra money to list it at a buy it now.
I do remember that.
So I love yard selling and thrifting and antique hunting and stuff. And I'm a watchmaker and a jeweler. So I would, over the course of a year, I would gather up quite a few nice watches. And I would, if money was getting a little tight or a little slow, I'd throw a few watches on and auction them off, make enough money on the side to cover things, and then save the best of what I accumulated through the year for October, November to make holiday money.
No, I've seen some of your solds too. Yeah. On the watches, and they can be pretty wild.
Yeah. But sometimes, and don't you got to take that with a grain of salt. If I sell a $5,000 watch, I may have $3,000 tied up.
Oh, well, no, absolutely.
So it's, it's not like that's all profit.
Right.
Not to mention I have to fix it myself. And I've been a watchmaker for a lot of years, and I spent a lot of those early years living off ramen noodles, living in a 1-bedroom apartment to learn my trade. So, but out here hitting these yard sales and everything, looking for old watches, I'd come across like reloading equipment for the hunters. Or I'd run across fishing gear. I'm a big time fisherman, bass fisherman. When I still lived in East Texas, there were months where I actually made more money working on fishing reels than I did working on Rolex watches. So I know a little bit about fishing reels. Of course, that's what got me into working on watches. I started out on fishing reels. But I could get fishing reels and fix them up and throw them on and make a few extra dollars here and there like that. And just before COVID hit, or a few months, I was looking up some videos on leather work to make watch bands, because I had these nice old watches, and there was a new style of watch band coming out, leather strap.
Okay.
That to buy them commercially was ridiculously stupid high. I'm like, I can do that. So I looked it up, and while I was looking for these leather videos, up kept popping these shoe repair videos. And one of those videos was talking about buying used shoes and fixing them up and selling them on eBay for a profit. I'm like, ain't nobody buying used shoes.
I'm surprised about that. Like, quite honestly, like when I kind of got back into it because I stepped out of it, the whole corporate thing and stuff. And the simple fact that, and I don't get the mentality of the buyer really.
Right.
I get that there's people that want to try and keep up with the Joneses, I guess, but don't have the same kind of budget maybe. But like, there's like people buying like, again, like beater Hokas probably don't do as well as they used to.
They don't.
But like a couple years ago, it didn't matter
they
how
could be beat to hell and you could still sell
get
it.
40-50 bucks. And it's like you buy it for two, or like we have a few pairs listed right now that I bought kind of at the tail end of that hype, but it was nuts. It was like I don't get it. I
kind of hit that one early, and I probably sold 24 pair that if it was any other brand than Hoka, I wouldn't have looked at them twice in that condition.
Right. And then like now they got to be pretty minty.
I wouldn't have picked them up.
Yeah.
But that day is gone. Hokas anymore have to be in decent shape like any other brand, or just leave them behind. It's basically by the time the thrift stores catch on to a new brand that's hot like that, by the time they catch on to it and jack their prices up, the trend is over.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. It's kind of interesting. Like, I get told that, we have really good thrift stores in our area, and I would actually agree. I don't think like that's like the end all be all of like our business at this point. Like, I think quite honestly, we've probably, pivoted more towards like, at least from the reselling side and not the YouTube side, the yard sales, where we end up finding probably most of our stuff. But we do have good thrift stores in our area. We do have some rough ones too, where the stuff's just like you go in there and it's like you can expect to see like $25 and $45 shoes. And
I found a pair of Asics at the bins today.
Okay.
And it's no wonder they didn't sell. This regular women's Asics Gel Venture 4s or something.
Mm-hmm.
The original price tag was still inside the shoe, and they had it for $20.99.
Oh.
I'm like, is there something about these I don't know? I looked them up. I'm like, no, you can buy them on eBay in better condition for $15 to $20.
Yeah,
Shipped.
and there's been stores like that, like in Ohio, for a long time. So, like, this is something I hear quite a bit, is about like how YouTubers have ruined like reselling and everything. And it's like, at the end of the day, like the same thing that you're utilizing, like as a reseller, to give you like a competitive advantage, which is the internet, is the
Yeah,
same thing that's also going to, it
start
cuts
the trend.
it cuts both ways,
Yeah,
because like at the same point, like I went into, like, there's a store called Ohio Thrift, and I have no ill will against said store chain, but a couple of their stores, they would put like um stuff up in like the showcase or whatever. We don't have a lot of showcases in the Dayton area, but in Columbus it was a very common thing for thrift stores to have like the showcase area. And they
right.
put stuff up in the showcase area and put eBay listings right there. They just table
Oh
them
yeah,
to stuff, and it'd be like not sold listings, of course. And
right.
it'd be like, this teddy bear is $100 on eBay. It's
It's like, no,
only
somebody's
70,
asking that much, not getting that much.
it's only 75 here. But even if it was worth 100 on eBay, like one of the big things that like a reseller does, well, first off, the main job of a reseller is to like correct market inefficiencies. So
Right.
one of the easiest ways to do that is to find a bad venue for the item and to put it on a good venue. So
Yeah.
like when people go into a thrift store, even just normal non-resellers, they're expecting like silverware to be 19 cents, and plates
Yeah.
to be a dollar 99 at the most. I mean, I know stores that I feel like have really cheap prices, and you'll hear like normal customers and they'll be like, oh, this is a crazy expensive. And like, I'm thinking everything's a deal, but they're expecting clothes to be $2 and $3.
Right.
Five seems crazy. So when a store like
They
that marks
send them
something
my
up,
way. Cheapest pair of jeans in any of the thrift stores around here is $13.
really, yeah,
Yeah,
ours
that's the
starts
cheapest.
at I think it's 5.99, maybe 4.99, for our Goodwills, that is. And then
Yeah, I think ours start at 12
mm,
79 and they just go up from there. And that's like the George Walmart brand jeans too that
yeah,
start at
that's
that price. If it
wild.
says Lucky
I've been
Brand
into
or
stores to do
Levi's or
that.
anything, yeah, they're
Like, I don't
anything
understand
else
it. Like,
above the lowest level, they're putting 15.79 or 24.99. It's like, okay, I go. So I'll pick them up at the bins next week when you can't sell them.
yeah,
And I've
that
actually done
absolutely
that
has to
too.
be what
Found
happens.
overpriced things that I watch them for a while, and I miss it on the half off week, and then I go to the bins the next week, and there it is. So I just pay $1.79 a pound for it. I've actually done
Yeah,
that a couple of times.
our region, on the clothing, as long as they don't mark up the clothing, they have like the default prices or whatever.
Right.
um Typically, like, if they keep them at the default prices, that if I see it, I can, if it's worth buying, I'll buy it, because it's not worth waiting for the tag sale, because it probably won't be there, kind of deal. Because there is a fair amount of people. Like, it looks like the stores are empty nowadays, because I try and edit around people, because
Man, the
that's
electronics in my area have just
yeah.
dried up and gone away. I used to keep anywhere from 12 to 20 VHS and combo players at all times. I don't
Hmm.
have a single one in stock right now.
Really.
On a Magnavox one, an early Magnavox VCR today for $6 or $7. I just left it behind because it does. It's one of those that's deeper. It's always almost square, and it's the metal case. And there's like 20 something of them listed, but only one ever sold.
Oh yeah.
So I mean,
It's
even
hard to
at
get
$6,
motivated then.
yeah. But it's just amazing. I'm well stocked still on boxes for VCRs and combo players.
Well,
But
the
I
thing
can't
is,
find them to sell anymore.
you'll run into a vein of them, where all of
Probably.
a sudden, yeah,
It didn't
you'll
used
get,
to be a problem. There used to be, 6, 7, 8 of them at every thrift store in the area, and they were priced $7 to $10 or thereabouts.
yeah.
And I'd buy them, and I used to be able to test them there, but then they stopped letting me test them there. So I bring them home, test them, and the ones that test out okay, I list the ones that don't. I got 7 days to return them, and I always just did a store credit thing because I'm in there almost daily, at least one of them daily, and then
that's our return policy too in our area. But
I usually get lucky and find one thing today. It's no asteroids. Console thing like you got back there, but I found one of these
arcade one up.
Yeah, the
oh, okay. There can be some crazy good ones. Have you seen? We sold a Coleco. This was like 3 years ago on the channel, so I'm sure nobody remembers it. In a video that got like 3,000 views, but like we had a Coleco Family Dollar edition. And so Family Dollar, Dollar General, one of the two, they'll have releases with
I'm from the South, and we just call them all the dollar store.
Yeah. So they have these dollar store releases where they'll have like plug and play consoles that are only available there.
Right.
And I think I got it for $6. I want to say it sold for north of 100.
Yeah. I love the plug and play games. The Jax brand, JAXX. Mm-hmm. This is some of them that I see a lot, and those always sell good for me.
Yeah. No, for sure. And,
Magnavox VCR for parts. Yeah. When it comes to the VCRs and the combo units, the only ones that I will consider selling for parts these days are the DVD recorder ones.
Yeah.
And even those, they can take a long time to sell.
Well, they're not worth what they were 2 years ago either. Everybody, I don't know. Everybody was just kind of like panicking or something about physical.
150, 200 a piece was kind of average. Nowadays, you're lucky to get 75 to 125.
Yeah,
depending on the brand but well,
you can point.
I say that I don't know because I haven't been able to find one lately. What's that?
Like you can point to almost every category, it feels like nowadays, like, and look to like even a year or two ago, and be like, I don't know. I found a Dolphins hat in one of the recent videos. There's a logo athletic paint splash, and I threw it up on Instagram too, just because it's Super Bowl Sunday, and I was like, hey, they might not have hit the Super Bowl, but it's going in my shop. They're going in my shopping cart. But for $5, obviously even now, that's still like a crazy good deal. But like that probably would have been a $200 hat 2 years ago.
Well, during that
we'll be lucky to get about $100 hat. Yeah,
there were so many people were afraid to go out in public, and they had all the stimulus checks that came through, so people started shopping from home. And even after the shutdown went away, people had gotten used to, buying online.
Yeah.
But as they started getting out again more and going to the thrift stores themselves, it's making it a little bit harder to, the market is just down a bit.
And I think that, I don't know, and not to be political, but I mean, we've been in a recession for quite some time.
Year that you can't help but
have
politics affect things.
We've been in some sort of a recession for a while, for months now at least, and maybe a year plus. And I mean, people have gotten tighter with their wallets, and understandably so. I mean, obviously, when you're worried that times might get worse, you're less likely to spend on like luxuries. And like at the end of the day, most eBay resellers aren't selling essentials.
Right.
Like, I mean, for the most part. So, I mean, you don't need a Nintendo Classic console
or an Atari Flashback 9 Gold.
Having a boxed Left Bros Super Mario 3 is not, an essential. So, of course, like, the value of those things, and especially with everything ramping up to a bubble, then you add an economic turmoil, like it was bound to pop.
Season it with a little bit of political turmoil. And
well, I mean, obviously, like, whoever does win in the presidential election, like half of America is going to be upset about it. So,
or more. I had to 4 years ago. I had to that's why I was telling you earlier. I took a break from Facebook. I took a break because the political garbage out there and the hate and discontent. I had to take a break from it. I had to step away from it. It's just inundated with hate and discontent all day, every day, and that can wear on you. And it was affecting me pretty badly. So I just turned it all off. I don't keep up with it as it's hard not to hear things and see it. You turn on the internet and there's going to be stuff there, but I try not to click on anything and go read about it. I let it go and I tend to my own business.
Yeah, I mean I keep up with things and I have like, you know, my opinions, but I've
Yeah,
always kind of tried to keep my channel just,
right.
you know, anybody can watch it and
Yeah,
not
stay in your own lane and
yeah.
yeah. I try to do the same thing, but I had to take a break from all that. Even if I agree with whatever's being said or done, I still stay away from it. It's too easy to get caught up in it and get angry. And I'm not a nice person to be around when I'm angry. And I'm no Bill Bixby, but that was a
People
Hulk reference.
right, people try to like, I don't know, some people try to like put their own like political spin on reselling,
Yeah.
oh, like thrift stores are only for poor people, or you know, you get that kind of stuff, and it's just
I
like
heard
why
someone the
then
other day say that Goodwill was the new unemployment office.
yeah.
Everybody's going to Goodwill to try to find stuff to sell to make some money. But I have to say, in the last few months, I have seen the competition for sourcing stuff has skyrocketed around my area.
I think last year we probably peaked out. I mean, and it went like this and back down some. I don't know. I mean, then again, I'm sure there's people, you know, in our area that are just more focused on yard sales that
Yeah.
aren't
Now,
hitting
yard
thrift
sales
as
in this
much.
area
But
has always been super, super competitive.
yeah,
I'm talking, and they work in teams. They'll pull up right in the driveway. One guy will jump out and make a quick trip and yell, "Hey, do you have any of this, that, or other?" No, and jump back in the truck and go to the next one. It's like, geez, take a breath.
we do find like Jess and I that like splitting up during the yard
Oh
sale
yeah,
season tends to help
cover
quite
more
a bit
ground.
for us. Yeah, yeah, it's the covering more. It'd be more fun, I feel like, to make videos where we're like hanging out and stuff. But at that same point, like from a business perspective, you're getting
Yeah,
half the footage too, and like most of the people, I feel like,
turn it into a challenge. See who can make the best finds that day.
yeah, no, that we could do that. We've done that before on thrifting once, but it was like in the same store. So like
Right.
that didn't really at that point you're kind of like weird. I don't know. Did you ever watch Supermarket Sweep? It feels kind of like that, maybe like where they're
Probably.
running around the store, like
Oh yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Was that the one that was?
It had the prize as $5,000 at the end.
Yeah. Was that what's the guy with the funny blonde hair? Guy Fieri.
Oh, I
Didn't
don't
he
think
have
it
a
was
show like that?
No, I don't think that. I think they did a cooking show that was kind of similar, where they'd be like, "Go find your ingredients and then make
Ah, is
something."
that it?
Yeah, nah, yeah, that's a different show. Like the Supermarket Sweep was like a '90s thing. Christopher says Jess usually wins.
I was just highlighting that.
No
But
comment. But Jess actually makes a pretty insane find in tomorrow's video. Basically, it's a super cut of all the stuff that didn't make it into videos from like December and January of sourcing. It's gonna be like 30 minutes of it, and I don't know. I'm kind of like trying to make the best thrift videos I possibly can, and I feel like they're not getting the views, but that's just kind of the pressure, I guess, of this whole business. But it's probably gonna be about like a half hour, and I feel like I have 12. I'm looking at the editor right now. I have at least probably like 12 hours into editing it, which is insane. So
yeah, it's
even if I lose, I win. Like, Jess, if you want to come in here and plug in the mic. You want to
Man,
be in the
I'm gonna
hot
tell
seat
you,
here
even
with
since
the
I
junk monkey
started,
himself.
I started what 5 years ago. I started watching reselling videos and
Yeah.
getting into this, and back then there was maybe 10 or 12 people
Mm-hmm.
that I could find easily. Now you get on YouTube and you look up
Well, it's
reselling or
100
eBay.
plus.
Yeah, oh, easily.
Yeah.
And
Probably
so a lot of
1,000.
the audience has turned into content creators. So, and then a lot of other people have just burned out on because they went full time and they're watching every video and
Oh, yeah.
all day, every day, reselling. Well, you can only do that for so long. Even myself, I'm guilty of it too. I don't watch a whole lot of reselling content anymore. You spend 10 or 12 hours in a day eating, living, breathing
Oh, you want to do
reselling.
something else.
Yeah.
I've had to start striking a balance with it. I mean, last year was a pretty tough year for me, just like from a mental standpoint, quite honestly. Um, and I found that like I've had to like start doing other things than reselling, and even if like I was trying to do 4 videos a week at one point,
Yeah.
which even then those videos were taking me 3 to 6 hours to edit a piece, and then you got to figure the filming time and
But have you
the
thought about turning the editing over to somebody else?
so I mean I've thought about it extensively, but you need somebody that understands reselling to do it.
Right.
So like not only do they have to be a good editor, but they would have to like this would have to click with them,
Right.
because like and what's compelling. So like I mean obviously I have like 2 main audience people, and neither of them are like oh it's because I love Dustin's personality, but no, the two main audience members are going to be like resellers, and then people that just want to live vicariously through
Right.
finding cool stuff. Like they like seeing going out to garage sales themselves, maybe as a hobby, or they used
Well,
to, or whatever. So,
American Pickers had a huge
yeah.
audience for, and very few people from the antiques world and collectibles world were. And I knew a guy. He was retired. He had a job in Hollywood. I don't remember what he did, but he was pretty. He worked on a lot of big name movies and shows too. He got into the TV shows towards the latter half of his career. But he said a lot of people, if you want to create a show that becomes successful outside of its own genre, the show has to be about the human story. Says
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't matter what the show is about as long as you show the human story side of it. It's the human story side of it that will sell the show.
Yeah.
So it would be about you, not what you're finding, or it would all be about you and your car and your bills and
I
things
think
like
I
that.
think it's difficult to do that. Like
It
quite
is.
honestly, I don't know. Aside from maybe a couple creators, if there's too many people in the category to have actually truly accomplish that. Like, I know that there's a fair amount of people that have an active buy-in to like us as people, like myself and
Right.
Jessica, but I don't know if like maybe 10%, if I had to guess,
Right.
of my viewership.
Right.
I mean, and at
I
the
like
end
to
of the
feel like I'm a little bit into that. I'd like to see a little bit more of you. You're talking about just showing your setup and how you do all that hurts your views and everything, but there
that's
are
what the
some of
second
us out
channel
there
is
that
kind of
enjoy
for.
that kind of stuff. I
It,
didn't even know you. I'll be honest with you. I didn't know you had a second channel. You're gonna have to
it's Pro
send me a
Flipper. I
link.
know, real original naming convention there, but uh, so it's been about 3 weeks since the last video, but I mean, for a while there, I was really
Well,
on a tear on making videos for that. But it has devolved more into an order pull channel than like I had intentionally meant for it to. But like, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm filming every order pull, which is right now every 2 days because we have a 2-day handling time.
yeah.
It's basically 3 times a week, actually, because you've got the weekend and everything. But so it's 3 times a week. By the time I filmed those, and even when I was keeping up with editing those, it was hard to have like additional content for it. And now I have a backlog of those are really easy edits, by the way. The order pool ones, those are like I can edit one of those in 30 minutes.
You said it was Pro Flipper?
Yeah. So if anybody else is in the chat that wants to see basically like the DVD extras of the Pro Picker channel, the special features.
Hey, there you are. See, I didn't even know you had a second channel. I am subscribed, and we're going to drop that link. Copy and paste. There you go, folks. Go give that one a view and a subscribe.
Yeah, I think. If anybody came here from Facebook or Instagram or whatever, make sure to subscribe to Junk Monkey to check out all his other lives. It's only uphill from here. I mean, you started at the bottom with me on your comeback.
Oh,
what's the biggest creator, I guess, that you've had on here? Like, does that put you in an awkward spot?
It puts me in an awkward spot because I've had a couple of really good ones.
Yeah.
And I've got a few that used to be friends that are taking a break from one another now. And if I name one and not the other, and then
okay.
But I've had some really good people.
No, I get you. No, I get it.
One of my favorites.
I'm gonna have to go through and check out some of the old interviews.
Yeah. One of my favorites was oh Lord. I put myself on the spot. I'm terrible at that when I have to come up with a name of something or somebody's name.
Oh no, same. People ask me all the time. They'll be like, "Who's your favorite people to watch?" And I'll be like, "If I don't name everyone, somebody's gonna feel
well,
bad."
Not only that, but
obviously, I just watch Paul's videos on loop.
I used to put his on for background noise.
Yeah.
Here in the shop. Let's see.
You moved on to my videos. I get it. That's why you're used to.
Yeah. Ginger Marvin was one of my favorites, and one of my
I've seen her.
Did you see her early?
With the white boxes behind her.
Yeah,
right? Yeah. I've seen so many videos. So
that organized inventory.
No, I remember it made for a good thumbnail.
Yeah. But she moved all that stuff out of that house into a storage unit. Now they have a new house, but she's still working out of the storage unit. But they set the storage unit up the same way. You know, it's got shelving with bins on it and banker's boxes, I guess is what they use. Then they put the letters.
Got Desert Cellars here. What's up?
Desert Cellars. Thank you, Christopher, for bringing in somebody new. Nice to meet you, Desert Cellars. But for those of you that are coming in that weren't already aware of me, I had this show going for a pretty good while. And we had some stuff happen in our family life that I ended up having to take a break that ended up being a little bit longer than what I thought it was. And it's been kind of difficult to get back into it. In fact, Dustin here is the one who kind of gave me a kick in the keister to get back on it, because he and I were scheduled to do a show months ago that something happened and we had to call that show off, put it off for another time. And then he reached out to me recently and asked me if we were going to do this thing. And I'm like, you better believe it. Let's go ahead and do it I'm going to try to get back into it, folks. And I'm going to actively seek out people to bring on the show. And if you know somebody, or if you're interested in being on the show, hit me up. We're pretty laid back and it's a small show. So.
Oh, hey, Desert Cellars. Well, I appreciate that. I feel fangirl moment.
There you go.
Well, I appreciate it.
Jess, don't get too jealous there.
Oh, Lord, now you're putting me on the spot. I put you on the spot.
Well, Brett, it seems like it's been a while, but really and truly it was, I think, October. Let's see. Go back the other way, Robert. It's actually been 5 months. Good Lord, it has been.
Yeah, that has been a while.
So it's been.
You were doing these every week or something?
Every
Or
week, every Monday.
Oh, wow.
And the reason I picked Monday is because every night of the week, other than Saturday and Sunday, there was a show, and now there's a show on Sunday.
Now there's shows Monday too. Yeah. Now there's it's every night of the week. There's like 4 shows.
And I didn't want to step on anybody's toes. And what happened with that? I used to watch a show on Monday nights. A lot of people remember was Joey Bada Bing 22. Him and Drew were on every Monday night, and then Drew had to pull back and take a break, and then Joey had some things happen in his life, and he ended up taking a break, and a lot like me recently, just hasn't been able to get back into it. But that's why I picked Mondays, was to fill a void, basically. And it's gotten to where these live shows are my favorite type of reselling content, because you get to interact. And
we did a live not too long ago.
Q&A 12 days ago. I saw that.
Yeah. And then like, I didn't even think, but like there was other people, you know, in the category that were live. And then like I saw afterwards. I've had that too, where it's like, you know, creators I really like. I'm like, oh crap, he was live while I was live. I feel kind of bad about that. Like I'm not
early on, I was
as competitive as I am. I'm not trying to like, you know, eat into audiences. And honestly, when we do the reason we did that live stream, I think was because I had the longest gap on content creation I ever had on the channel, which was 10 days, because we went, you know, I was out filming that 70 thrift challenge, which was pretty nuts. But Google might save that video though, because now people are searching it on Google of all places. So but whenever they search it on Google to watch, like your watch time is like crap, because people watch for like 2
not
minutes.
So much, but it's getting a little better, and there's an end in sight. So hopefully by the end of spring, well before the beginning of summer, I'll be back on track, and we'll be here every Monday. I'm going to try to find somebody for this coming Monday. I have somebody I know I could reach out to, if they aren't already committed to something else, they'd be happy to come on. But
I'm going to volunteer Paul.
I've tried to get Paul on the show. He's not.
Wait, he hasn't been on it?
No, he hasn't been on it.
He was talking about himself.
Yeah.
What the heck?
He'll come in for a short few minutes, and then the Monday Night Drafts is the show that he has or is involved with, where a bunch of resellers get together and then they talk about their favorite this, that, or the other, and they call it the Monday Night Draft. And
I've been on that.
Yeah,
at least once, I think. Yeah.
Hey, Scott,
his Christmas
King is here. Yeah, Paul's too good to be on somebody's show.
Oh, okay.
I even reached out to Kevin, and he doesn't do live shows.
What, the Commonwealth Picker, Kevin? Yeah.
There was a running joke with him for a good 2 years about Yorkie puppies.
Trying to think. Well, you've had John on, right?
No. You're talking about Cincinnati Picker? No, I haven't.
Oh, okay.
I watched a lot.
He's been on a lot. I'm just saying he's been on a lot of lives. Yeah.
Yeah. And he and I just haven't had the opportunity to connect yet. And I'm sure from what I can see and what I hear from everybody, he's a real nice guy and easy to get along with.
Definitely. He's kind of in the area. I mean, he's just.
I think I've seen the two of you show up in each other's videos on a rare occasion.
When
you did some traveling
when I first started doing this, real early on, I had like 17 subs. John shouted me out, so he gave me like that first bit.
I've actually had
first bit of exposure,
and I want to get Scott back. And when Scott and I need to talk, and
who's Scott?
Scott, the Cha-Ching King.
Oh, okay.
This guy right here.
Yeah.
He's a real nice guy. He's got a real good channel, and when he stepped into the scene, he grew pretty quickly. He's a real nice guy. He's a retired principal and superintendent, I believe.
Oh, okay.
But he's real nice, and I'd love to have him back on the show again. And but we had him on as a last minute deal one night, and then he was doing some videos at the time, top 10 this, top 10 that. Anyway, I kind of want to get with him on some of those lists and maybe come up with a speaking points show for a live and get that going. So Scott, hit me up sometime, man, and we'll get back on that project.
That would be an entry. And you could kind of almost see it like the reseller draft, but instead it's like off the cuff, name your top 10 of 5 different things, or I don't know.
Well, one thing I ask everybody, but I think we kind of hit this point, is what's something that used to be a great find that these days, if you do find it, you just leave it.
Yeah, I mean,
it was a big time bolo a year or two ago, but it's not worth buying now.
Yeah, I think we kind of had it on the beater Hokas. Just random hats. I know John, speaking of John, Cincinnati Picker brought this up recently, but it's so true. Like, you go and you could buy a bunch of hats for like $0.25 a piece at a garage sale, you know, the trucker hats and all of that stuff. And now it's like they got to be really cool or really specific. Harley tees.
Oh yeah,
I found
I have never found anything Harley
really
worth. I find it all the time. I find Harley Davidsons, but I've never found anything worth buying and listing. Even stuff that was cheap.
The shirts, like 3-4 years ago, you could like buy somebody's Harley t-shirt collection for a couple bucks a piece, and you know they'd all be flippable for 15 to 40 to 50 bucks. And I feel like now you buy like Harley shirts and like they just sit. Like
every time I find Harley shirts, they sold comps are 8 to 12 at best. Some of those are free shipping, and then whoever's selling it is wanting 4 to 6 or 4 to 10 for it. That's like, no, thank you. I'd rather have absolutely nothing to list and spend the time cooking a great steak or something than listing something that I'm going to break even or even lose money on, which in my way of thinking, breaking even is losing money.
Another one that's going to become, I think, if you're watching this and you have this in your def pile, list your NCAA 14s, because they're going to come out with a new NCAA game, guys. And the moment that drops, people either everybody's going to move to the new one, or the community is going to split in half. And regardless, either way, it's going to drop values.
I found the football and the baseball at the same time at the bins a couple of years ago. I think you've actually commented on it before.
Oh, okay.
But
I found
a lot of people don't know that the baseball version of NCAA 14 is just as valuable as the football version.
One that always there's one I'm embarrassed. It's the whatchamacallit, the basketball one on the 360. That's worth like 80 to 100 or whatever. And I need to just start buying every basketball 360 game I see, because for some reason I have like a blindness to it, and I'll see it in a stack and it's worth like 80 or 90. I know what it looks like exactly too, and I'll pass it. And I've done it twice on the channel, and every time people are just like dying inside. Like,
I heard something recently that Xbox 360 has recently stopped all online commitments to the console. So the standalone games are supposedly going to go up in value. I don't know if there's any truth to that or not.
There was it's Spec Ops The Line was the big example of that recently, where I think it's THQ Nordic or something. I can't remember which publisher. It doesn't really matter, that owns it, but they took it off the online store. And that game's like a $15 game typically, but just recently, because they did that, like it spiked up to be like $100 disc, which is crazy. And it's considered an important game because it like showed like the hard side of war, and like the traumatic things, and people had to like make, like, I've never played it, but I've just read about it before, where people have to make tough decisions and stuff. And it's unexpected. People just think it's like a normal shooter or whatever. And so that's a game that spiked up because of that. I know, like, and this is the problem with like digital media. in general is that you don't really own it. You're basically just getting like the ownership, the rights to use it.
Right.
So there, and then you're also agreeing to like a ginormous, terms of service and everything that gives them like so many different outs with it. Like, I mean, you had the 3DS eShop go away. You have like a PlayStation, like, they sold TV shows on the PlayStation too. Like, you could buy and own TV shows, right? Just like you can on Amazon, for instance. Well, if you bought any Discovery shows on the PlayStation, you're out of luck because Discovery said, no, we're removing them from the PlayStation Store and you no longer have the rights to these.
Right.
So, like, if you love Discovery, yeah, if you don't get your money back. And if you love Discovery Television and you picked the PlayStation as the place that you were going to, house all of those, you're just out of luck. And I'm sure there's somebody out there that loves American Chopper and Orange County Chopper or whatever and has, 25 $1,000 invested in Discovery shows and now they're out of it. I kind of like I have the things I don't care about, like all owned digitally, like, but I'm starting to think like I need to start putting stuff aside.
We have a Voodoo account where we would buy some movies because that would be the first place they would drop and you could just buy the movie.
Yeah.
Because I hate renting a movie because invariably my phone is going to ring and I have to leave. And by the time I get time to sit down and finish watching the movie, the rental is already over. I'm like, just buy it.
I just wait for when it comes to movies, like I just wait for it to come to a streaming service. Yeah. And if I really want to watch
all my streaming services down except Amazon.
Yeah.
But I have Amazon Prime, so it just comes with that.
Well, now they just recently added ads to Amazon Prime. You have to pay an extra $2.99 to have no ads, and it's like,
I don't care.
I can't stand it.
For something just to get rid of a few.
For somebody that gets paid by AdSense and has been paid by like other things ad related, I'll pay not to watch the ads. Like the limited amount of time that I have to sit down and actually watch something.
Yeah, I don't either. At night after I'm usually out here till 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night every night, tinkering on stuff, taking pictures, making up drafts.
We need to spend more time in our barn.
Yeah. Then I go in and I'll sit in front of I've got another office set up in the house. Not an office. I've just got a little desk with a computer on it.
Mm-hmm.
But when I go in the house, I'll sit down and I'll look up something to watch on Amazon. I think I found really old Swords and Sorcery movie, Deathstalker. I've got it queued up to watch. I think I watched about 10 minutes of it last night before I called it quits and went to bed.
So Cha-Ching King brings up an interesting point. So
that happens to a lot of channels.
I don't get it. It's insane. So like this also relates to something on eBay that I can ramble about in a second here too. So like, okay, if somebody actively goes out of their way to like subscribe to a YouTube channel and then just randomly YouTube will like drop the subscription and it's nuts. And it's really annoying to the creators too, because like I already feel kind of like hat in hand when I ask for the people to subscribe in my videos, and then to ask them to verify that they are. And I've done this a couple of times recently to ask them to come around and like, hey, just make sure that you're still subscribed, guys, because like that button I asked you to hit might not be so permanent. Yeah, it's pretty wild. I mean, I don't even know like the multitude of like. It's probably thousands of subs at this point that I'm probably out like because of that, I would guess. And I know it makes sense like to lose subscribers if somebody like deletes their account or, like if it was a bot that, I got botted and 50 fake people were subscribed, I expect that to be deleted. But
I heard a rumor not too terribly long ago, which for me could mean within the last 6 to 8 months, that Google was going to go through all their systems and start booting the bots, which meant Yahoo, YouTube also, and
with like the bots that like the most annoying ones, and I've had less of it recently, like in the last 6 months, are the comment bots where it's just like they respond to like every single comment on
hit
like
me up on
a
WhatsApp
video.
or yeah.
And it's always like the biggest, it's always your biggest videos that of course get targeted. So then like they have the most comments. So then like I have to go in there and delete like 500 comments individually, like responses to their comments, because I don't want anybody getting scammed or something. And like, I mean, the thing is like, even the smartest people have a bad that's the thing that's why they keep doing it, because even the smartest people have a bad day where they might not think about something, they're
Right.
tired, and then they're in somebody's WhatsApp conversation
See, I
giving
don't
them $50 or something.
I don't go outside of whatever platform I'm on, because you get that, especially on Poshmark. You get these people. Hey, can you send me more pictures to my cell phone? And I'm like, nope, nope, no, no.
Mama with a camera was unsubbed as well. See, this is why I came on, so that way I could regain my subs.
There you go.
So what can I do to earn your subs back? what can I say?
Give Jess some more camera time.
Well, I've done that, and the views keep going down. I don't know what's up. I don't know if she's still watching at this point. Somehow we
She
have
hasn't chimed in a minute or two.
She hasn't. Oh, so this is very similar to like what happens on eBay. This is a USB stick
Inventory that gets delisted.
I hate it, and this is something I brought up on the Pro Flipper channel, like where you just have to go through. Like I had I think it's about $175 video game, right? And I was super excited about like getting it, and it's a pretty decent performing video for a thrift video, which typically underperform to my yard sale videos, but it did pretty well. And it's Budokai 3, Tenkaichi Budokai 3, Dragon Ball Z game.
Okay, I know what Dragon Ball Z is.
Yeah. So it's
video games since the original Super NES.
It's a very in-demand PS2 game. If you see it,
hey, JD is here. Good to see you.
If you haven't seen it before, you should Google the artwork so you know which one to like make sure to grab, right? Yeah. And so I knew what it was, and it was the greatest hits version, but still worth like $170. So like Jess actually listed it, and I knew it was listed because like I see everything as it gets listed through my email. You get the emails and stuff. So if she listed it, I know it got listed. So we know it's listed. We put it on the shelf, and then I'm like, one day we're doing an order pool, and this was on video, and I'm like, I can't believe this hasn't sold yet, guys. It's been like 6 months, and it wasn't listed. eBay just randomly delisted it, and so we relisted it, and it sold within like 2 weeks.
I over the last few months, I've been going through my entire inventory, and I have a pretty lean store, but I also have a really good sold to listed ratio. 4 to 3 or 1 to 1 sometimes. And so all my hard goods I went through, and there was 1 or 2 items that were no longer listed.
Yeah.
And I added pictures, and I'll get into the reason why I did all of this, but I know for a fact that in my clothing stuff, because that stuff's already bagged and tagged, I'm not breaking the seals on all that stuff to take new pictures. Mm-hmm. So what I started doing halfway through was just going through, and I have a little bitty whiteboard that I write all my measurements on and my stock number, my SKU number, and I just started taking pictures of that to get my picture count up.
Okay.
And I know for a fact there's a lot of clothing that is no longer listed, and I never delisted it. But the reason I was doing all of that wasn't just to see if I could find stuff that was no longer listed. I was doing it because last fall I stumbled onto and was just going to give this a try because I heard so many people talking about it, the listings quality report. So
okay, I've heard of that. Yeah.
I downloaded a listings quality report, the first one, And those things would come with a list of suggestions on how to make your listings better to get higher ranked in the search results.
Okay.
So I started doing it. They told me I needed, this was right around the time they added it, took us to 24 pictures from 12.
Yeah.
So they told me I needed 8 in this category, 10 in that. I'm like, you know what? I'll just do 12 across the board. And then fill out more item specifics. And I had already had a run in with eBay over item specifics because there was something not checked in the not the required ones, but the additional ones.
Yeah.
And it caused a kickback off at authentication. And it was a Rolex, so it was a big hit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I was going through and doing all of that stuff, but you can no longer download listings quality reports. They did away with the quality reports recently. Now they have a traffic report, but when I download that and look at it, it's just all one run-on text.
Aren't they adding a new fee? I saw like they had
the
eBay seller update, and it's like an additional 10 cents or something.
Well, that's the transaction fee.
Yeah, which is
it's going from 30 cents to 40 cents. But like for items over $10.
They're saying it's because of regulatory requirements, right? Like, so that's like a regulatory requirement fee. But didn't they just get sued for like a bunch of money for like, what was it? Not, oh, is the emission standard. So like, I think it was like tailpipes or something that allowed you to get around emission standards.
Oh, yeah.
And it was being sold on eBay and it was a big deal.
Yeah.
So it almost sounds like they're passing off the cost of their lawsuit.
Well, they tried to do that by ramping up their eBay Motors guaranteed fit program.
Okay.
So they're trying to get people more interested in buying car parts. So
which I get radio ads because I still listen to the radio like an old guy. But
before that, they were
I get radio ads.
Now they had the CEO come right out and say that he was trying to move away from smaller sellers and move into big time sellers for
they say that all the watches. Time. For luxury watches?
Luxury watches. And everybody started jumping on me about it. I'm like, hey man, I sell 5 or 6, maybe 7 of those a year. And I'm not the one they're talking about. They're talking about the guys that are selling the $20, $30, $40, $50,000 watches, $100,000 watches. I sell the $1,500 to $5,000 watches.
Yeah,
more of the 1,500 and below watches than above. So don't.
They're talking about the watches you see on Instagram, like people are trying to flex and stuff. And
all the automotive.
The watch that looks like a Bugatti, and
the Bugatti Chiron specifically.
Yeah.
What's that guy that got arrested? Him and his brother. I have a Bugatti.
Yeah,
he has one of those Bugatti APR, whoever made it, watches.
That's a topic I'm not touching.
Yeah,
Everybody has.
How about them Cowboys?
I'm about the least controversial.
That guy
person on the internet. So. He says 1,500 to $5,000 like that. In the watch world, quite honestly, I mean, if you're that's kind of getting into
low level.
You
weren't here when I said this earlier. If I sell a watch for $1,500, I've most likely got $800 or $900 in it. If I sell one for $5,000, I've most likely got $3,000 or more into it. So it's not. If it was anything lesser amounts of money, if that was sub 500s and I was having to spend that much money to make that little margin of profit, I wouldn't mess with it.
I found, so I bought a bag, and this actually hasn't been in a video yet. And it was because like, I don't have like the whole fallout of everything yet, but I got a bag at a thrift shop and it had some gold in it, as I think scrap gold. Okay. And there happened to be like a Rolex in there. So, I mean, don't get shocked because, I mean, it's fake. But like, it was kind of funny because like initially I was like, is this real? And I looked at it and it was like a date just is what it said on it. But like it, or maybe I'm flipping it in my head, but it only had like the day, not the date, or vice versa.
You can actually get a Rolex watch model called a date that does not have a date on it. The date just has just the day of the month on it. The day date, which
so could I be wrong on this?
You might be. If you can lay your hands on it, I can tell you real quick.
It's probably up in the barn, honestly.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
if you
Or
think
in
about it
storage.
tomorrow, go pull it out and send me some pics, and I'll
I'll do
tell you
that.
what you got.
If
But
it's real, then
no, if it's
like
real,
that's
send
gonna
it
be
out
the
to me.
video.
I'll refurb it for you. That way you can get top dollar for
That'd
it.
be awesome. No, I mean seriously, and like that'd be the video of a lifetime, honestly.
Yeah. I was the lead watchmaker at an authorized dealer for 13 years. So
I
I know
thought
my way around
about
a watch.
before I saw that and thought that it wasn't real because of that reason. I
Mm-hmm.
thought of taking it. I'd say because this is not an area of expertise for me at all, jewelry, any of that. So I thought about taking it into. We had a authorized dealer in the
Yeah.
area. We have
Right.
one because it's Dayton,
Yeah.
Ohio. It's not New
Well,
York City,
yeah,
but
I tell
yeah,
you, you got to be careful because there's a lot of those people who work at authorized dealers. All they know is the selling points.
that's I could see
It's
that.
yeah, it's as a watchmaker, I would sit sometimes and I could hear what was going on the sales floor. And some of the things that would come out of the salespeople's mouth, I would be like, don't ever say that again. If we get shopped by Rolex, and they do that to us quite often, they will pull the line out of our store.
Mm.
And Rolex is bad about doing that too. They'll
Well,
pull,
because they can.
yeah.
I mean,
Well,
they have the leverage in the
a
relationship.
few
Really.
years ago, well, they're everybody knew him as Mr. Rolex, but he was the guy from World War II on into the early 70s. And he was very, very customer relationship oriented.
Mm-hmm.
And all the guys that come up working under him were the same way. Well, the new group of guys coming up, they all come out of these big Ivy League European business
MBAs.
and they're all about brand recognition and prestige. It's no longer about the customer. It's all about their prestige and how the public perceives them. So they started pulling lines out of stores that they didn't like, including the number one selling Rolex dealership in America in Palm Springs. They sold multi-millions of dollars worth of Rolexes every year. But their jewelry store was set up kind of like an old Southwest building with creaky wooden floors and old worn.
They didn't like the image of that.
Rustic. Didn't like the new guy, the new area representative. First day on the job, walks in their store, looks around, says, "Nope, don't like it," and they pulled the line.
Oh, jeez, that'd have to be devastating to a business like that too.
You would imagine, but this business was 100 years old, and they carried bigger names than Rolex. So. And believe it or not, there are a lot of bigger names than Rolex.
Well, I mean,
Rolex is owned by 3 lawyers. No, that is not true. It may be run by 3 lawyers, but it is owned by the people of Switzerland.
Oh, really?
It is. It is owned by the people of Switzerland. So, yeah, they don't.
But managed by people with MBAs and
yeah.
So they're making those decisions and stuff. Where that's kind of sad, though. Like, I mean, you probably have like people that like have that generational knowledge of the Rolex brand, and all of a sudden, like, I mean, I guess they could still sell used watches at that point because nothing can stop, you know.
I don't know, man. These days, with Vionic Shoes has jumped in on the Vero thing. Chanel is actively suing and winning people for selling.
Vero is insane. Like, quite honestly, like it's nuts. Like, I won't buy. I try not to buy brands that do it. Like, quite honestly, like if you're not going to let me resell your stuff, I'm not going to be like a customer at all. Then
the only company I've ever
heard Otterbox, I won't touch them.
Oh, Otterbox, no.
I won't even use them on my phones. You know,
I won't either.
Don't care. Like,
I had a bunch listed when they pulled that mess. I went and pulled it all off and threw it all away.
Yeah.
But Scott wants to ask you a question about YouTube. Patek Philippe is not bigger, but they are much more prestigious. Patek Philippe makes a Rolex look like a Timex, in my opinion. Or the old ones did. The new stuff, not so much.
So as far as the question goes, Ching Kane asks, I have a couple of private picks coming up. How would you go about filming that? Shoot everything just to highlight? I struggle with them. So any private picks that I do now, the first thing that's I'm either going to tell them in advance, or like if we're meeting in a parking lot or something like that, then like that's a little bit different. But especially if I'm going into their home, I'm going to be like, hey, typically most of my private pics come from the fact that I'm a YouTuber, to be quite honest. Like, so I don't do a ton of them, but so they know what I'm going to do. But if they don't, I'm like, hey, is it okay if I film? And if they say no, I just don't film, and I'll throw a recap at the end of the video. If they allow me to film, hey, do you care if you're in the video? If they care if they're in the video, then, I don't have them in it if they don't care. So it's really like on that point, you're going into somebody's house potentially. You ask at that point, like estate sales and stuff where people are like opening up to the public. I don't feel as bad of like, going in there and filming. I mean, I'm very blatant about the fact that I have a camera on though. Like I have the,
And you
GoPro
also,
strap.
on all your videos in thrift stores, you blur out everybody.
Yeah, I did start doing that because a couple people like had issues and stuff. I personally don't see their side of it, but I respect it, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. And it's like at the end of the day, I think for like channel health, it just made more sense to start blurring. Like
Scott has a add-on to his question there. He's talking about going through abandoned homes that were sold with all their contents intact.
Personally, and I'm not telling you what to do, but personally, I would feel free reign to film.
Yeah. Just don't put like family photos or anything with anybody's name on it in there.
I could see that. Yeah,
just like a lot of people do with going through a storage locker they won at auction.
But if I film everything, the videos become editing nightmares. Oh, so if you're thinking from an efficiency standpoint, I mean, like okay. So if you're filming everything and like you're coming up to a house and everything, and it's pretty easy, in my opinion, to cut out the dead space, because all you're literally just, I don't know, my editor does the drag and drop, like where you drag and you pull it over and then you just hit delete. So I don't know. I mean, change editing. I don't know. Ideas. I mean, change your concept of how you edit, because I don't think filming everything would be that difficult to edit around. You need an editor. Yeah. I need an editor, but quite honestly, like I think it's a difficult thing. I know, like, there's a few people that do have people to edit for them, but I think the people that like succeed with that have editors that have a pretty good comprehension of like the space.
I tried to hook both my daughter and my wife, either one of them, into learning editing and doing my film editing for me for years.
Yeah.
And they don't want no part of it. Early on, I don't know, 10 or 12 years ago or more, I tried to get into making YouTube videos, and I tried to learn editing. And just as I would start getting a handle on some of it, there would be some massive update, and then everything that I had just learned no longer worked. And it just drove me insane.
You just don't update the editing software then, if it, you know what I mean?
It was, because back in those days, whatever I was using, it would be automatic.
Wow.
And I was trying to use whatever come with the camera or with the laptop or computer I was working on, or on YouTube itself, and everything I would try
the
to
YouTube
do.
editor's a no-go.
Yeah.
I made a compilation video on Twitch with that once, and it was a nightmare. But Desert Sellers married a video editor. Lucky.
Yeah.
Jess wants to edit a second channel video, and I actually really don't mind, but I just don't think it's like probably an efficient use of time. But she just wants to do it for fun, so that's not a big deal.
She may be
absolutely
at it.
No, by all means,
may be better at it than you are, and that would free you up on some time.
Yeah.
You might have time to start playing video games again.
Well, we actually have been. We've been playing. This is like going back to like the topic of trying to like do something that's not reselling related.
Yeah.
And we played through Diablo 4. And I mean, I don't know if anybody in the audience cares too much about video games specifically, but we're playing another like co-op RPG game right now called
Yeah.
Divinity 2, which you've probably heard of Baldur's Gate.
Yeah.
Yeah, the people that made Baldur's Gate 3, it's the game that they made.
When you
that
talk about Baldur's Gate, I start thinking about old
D&D.
yeah, D&D and Forgotten Realms books that I read back in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
Because you got to remember, the last time I played video games was when Link: The Legend of Zelda was brand new.
Oh, yeah. When I first started playing, my first console was the NES. That's what, my parents got and everything. I had
my
to be
first
like
one was
5 or
actually
6.
Pong.
Oh, yeah.
And then I don't think I ever had one. I think a friend of mine in the neighborhood had one, but he had Pong that had actual tanks and airplanes on it.
Oh, okay.
And then we had the 2600 Atari, which had like Pitfall was my favorite game, but it had Asteroids and Defender and Centipede and a few other games that I liked.
I remember my first memory of the Atari 2600, mind you, we already had the NES, was we were at a Goodwill. This Goodwill still exists, by the way. They've actually remodeled since. I mean, it was like back when thrift stores looked like dives instead of Panera breads. Like every Goodwill now looks like a Panera bread, but like back then, they like every thrift store. If you're newer to this, guys, like
they
when
had
I
like
was a kid, when I was a kid,
and none of it matched.
Yeah, like it was always the shelving from an old grocery store or something that's just the leftovers or whatever, like from one that shut down. And the tile would always be super old and just like, not the same color it used to be. But anyways, I remember I still have this distinct memory of like they had a fridge for sale. And then on top of the fridge, they had a box filled with an Atari 2600 and a bunch of games for sale. And I remember like my parents and we went there like 3 or 4 or 5 times where that Atari would still be there. Nobody wanted it. Like it was after the video game crash. Like, now I know it was after the video game crash and like Atari's brand was just dead back like at that point, like in the mid 80s, early 90s. Or late 80s, I guess. Like Atari's brand was just super dead.
I think Sega was their biggest competitor back in those days.
Nintendo, yeah. Sega during the NES era, and until they released the Genesis, the Master System never really took off here. But they released that Genesis, at the later part of the NES. They actually beat Nintendo to this, to the next generation. And that kind of messed it up. And then of course, like when you have edgier games, whoever has the edgier games is going to get the teenagers, and then whoever gets the teenagers, the younger kids see what the teenagers have, want what they have. And that kind of played through with like the PlayStation, all the way through. But like recently, like I mean, Nintendo has like characters that are just like they're like Disney level nostalgia. Like, people like
I know the Lara Croft games for a long time had a huge following.
Yeah.
The Tomb Raider stuff.
I played the reboot Tomb Raider and they was actually really good. Like I guess the funny thing is the reboot's now like 12 years old, but like Tomb Raider 2012, 2013, I think is when it came out. It was just called Tomb Raider. And it's actually wild.
Just stop the clock for a little while. I mean, 10 years ago was like yesterday for me.
Oh yeah, people are referring to games that people like I didn't start feeling old until people like started calling like PlayStation 2 retro. Like to me, PlayStation 2 is like modern gaming.
I heard a kid tell somebody the other day that their mom was born in the 1900s.
Oh yeah, I've heard that before.
And I was like, so that was just a couple of years ago. What are you talking about? And it struck me, this kid is like 10 and 1900s was 24, 25 years, almost a quarter of a century ago.
Yeah, we're almost a quarter of a way through this century, which is wild. Yeah. PlayStation 2's retro, and like it actually kind of is. Like if you can make a justification for that, and I'm like, oh Lord. Like I remember when I first started reselling, the PlayStation 3 was the current gen console.
Yeah.
So like you would run into tons of people dumping PlayStation 2 stuff. But
Yep,
like,
just
I
yeah.
mean, still some of the good titles still had some value. So, you know, like not maybe obscure titles would be because some of the good titles become worthless because they make so many millions of
N64
them.
stuff. Is anybody out there collecting the N64
Oh
stuff?
yeah, 64 was crazy hot during the pandemic.
Yeah.
Like everything for the most part, it's cooled off some,
My
but like,
neighbor has a whole system, a handful of games, all in the original box.
oh, okay.
And he keeps thinking it's worth like, he's got one of his kids that tells him, oh no, it's worth like $350 to $500. I'm like, no, look,
I mean,
here's what
it
you
very
actually sell
depends.
for.
It very depends on what it is. Yeah.
It's just
I
a
mean,
basic N64 game. I don't think I've looked up any of the games that he's got for it, but
I think we get about 100 for like just a loose console with the
well,
cords
this is
and
in the
one
original
controller.
box.
Original box,
And
yeah. I
yeah,
mean, you could probably be there. Like, well, I'll look it up right now.
I
In
think I
fact,
looked them up and they were like anywhere from $80 to $140.
complete in box.
Yeah, it's complete in box and it's got 3 or
Oh, it's got
4,
to go
maybe
for more
5
than that.
games with it.
It's well with the games. It's always about the title.
Yeah. I think the games were like stuff that he had bought for his kids to play back when they were still using it.
With
All the kids are grown, so I don't think any of it was hot
you
games or
got
anything.
a
They were
sold
just
like I don't know if I can't put a screenshot in the chat, can I? But I see 425 for this lot. Oh, this lot's crazy though.
yeah. I don't think this his
Uh
stuff he's got is crazy.
no, that's like and it's 425. Yeah, but there's still definitely money in the N64 space, like especially like box games or just like, you know, some of like your uncommon stuff. Or even some of your common stuff that's just in demand, like Mario Party 3, I think is still like what 70, $80
Man,
loose.
I played the original Donkey Kong, and that's where Mario got the whole start was
Yeah.
in a little game called Donkey Kong, and it was super basic stuff. And it's amazing how far the Mario stuff has gone.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
Yeah.
hell, they've all but left the gorilla behind, and it's just Mario's adventures.
Well, he's gone to space and had his Odyssey, and I don't know where they're going to go with it next, but
Yeah, I don't know. It's just like you ever get to a point where like they just can't come up with anything new. They just start rebooting old stuff.
it's pretty much there. I mean, Nintendo's kept it pretty innovative. I mean, except for the fact, of course, they're always falling back on the same franchises. But I mean, the quality is there, so it's hard to really get on them for it. You know, there's other practices. I've so I don't think 64's gonna go up, and this is probably. I mean, maybe like some of your nostalgic titles still have potential to at least like maintain value, but if you think about it, so right now, like I'm part of this NES, Super Nintendo, and 64 generation, but like N64 was where it's special to me is like the first console where I had like choice over the games, and you know what, you know, because like I had some of my own money, and plus, you know, I wasn't a kid, I was a teen, so you know, like I made, you know, had the ability to make conscious choices that weren't completely stupid, but when it came to minor things like video games, everything else, you know, I still managed to mess up. But so now, like I'm, you know, in my 30s, I won't say nearly 40s, and I have spending power. So 64, you know, you know, my generation and my part of the millennial generation has had spending power for probably, you know, a good 5-10 years now. I just don't see where the 64 is going to go up. I could see potentially GameCube going up still. I know. I mean, everything's went down some. I could potentially see GameCube and Wii U and stuff going up because like of how little of it was made.
I've got a complete Wii system. I need to get listed.
Yeah.
I just keep it around to test games, but I don't find games much anymore.
I think there's potential of things to go up that like if you're strategic about it, but I don't think like just like holding on to. I think you're probably better off just flipping things and getting your profit now most of the time. Like there's certain things I bought an extra copies of recently. It's only happened a couple times, so it's not something I make a big habit of. But like Mario 3D All Stars, I wish I had bought like hundreds of them now because like I bought two of them. I was going to open one and play it, never had time. So both of them are sealed. I had bought one that I meant to keep sealed, and it's doubled in price. Like it's worth like probably $120 now.
I'll tell you what I want to know about video games is I know because I played them in the early 90s. We had holographic games. X-Men, there was an X-Men game
Okay.
at one of the bases I was stationed on overseas in Italy. It was a big freestanding video game with up to 4 or 5 players. And I think it took like $1.50 a piece to play.
Yeah.
But it was a full holographic interactive game.
I've seen games like that.
And in about the same time or shortly thereafter, we had all the VR stuff coming out. And then both of those genres, the VR and the holographic stuff, just seems to have gone away.
Well,
I think VR is still around a little bit, especially with the Oculus stuff.
Yeah, VR is back now. People are into it. Like the Meta Quest, which is what it is now, or the Oculus before that. Like they actually made it into something that felt like less of a gimmick.
Right.
Yeah, you throw on like a Virtual Boy in comparison, and it's like the red lines and the burning into your eyeballs, and you feel sick.
You would go to like a mall. In like Norfolk, Virginia, you could go to the mall, Military Circle Mall, I think it was, and they had this little area set up behind like velvet ropes and stuff, and you could go in and for $1 or $2, they'd put a helmet on your head, and you could visit the VR world.
Yeah.
It was worth doing once, but I was like, this is not for me. But still, that technology existed in what is now 35 years ago, 30 to 35 years ago, and it seemed like it just stalled out.
It just wasn't ready. Like they were ideas, and this is my opinion. I mean, ideas that didn't have the computing power for it yet to like, really fulfill it. And now like I mean, if you think about it, like people complain about like the Nintendo Switch for having like a cheap phone processor in it, which it basically does. But like it pulls off like portably, you're running around and you're able to play like games that literally look better than like PlayStation 3 games did, with and you saw how big of a hunk those initial PlayStation 3s were. So like, yeah, like technology, like the resolution wasn't there for VR to be like something that, screen resolution.
It kills me that people worried about. I was like, why is the resolution so horrible when 2 years ago we had holograms that were lifelike? Don't you two people talk to one another or something? Can't you do something? I mean, you got realistic holograms. 2 years later, you go to VR and it's not even a hologram, and your graphics suck.
And well, it's one thing too to like make something look good, and then to make it functional and actually like fun.
Yeah.
Like something that, like, if you think about like we've had, you could have very like realistic graphics, but it would chug at like a 2 frame rate. You know what I mean? Like it would be like a slideshow. Especially like say you tried to put like say you could get Elden Ring to run on, an old PC from the 90s.
Right.
It might display a static image. So it's hard to make something like it was like, like technology comes out and then it's about like
applying it.
Being able to apply it into something that's actually usable and fun. Like VR is nuts now compared to like the way
I haven't tried any VR since the mid 90s. So
hey, Angel, I appreciate that. Thanks for stopping by. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to Junk Monkey.
I appreciate that, man.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, brother. I normally try to keep these shows to an hour, and we've been at it
Oh,
for two.
I can talk. So by
I
all
could
means, I
too,
have things I
but
got to do.
I'm also
Yeah.
out here in my unheated building. I'm
Oh,
out of propane, and it is currently cold weather. Feels colder, 40 degrees.
no, I understand because
Which I'm good down to 40, and the
we just
40s were
put
my
heat in the
jam. But once
barn.
it drops below that 40, it starts getting a little chilly.
Yeah, no, I get it. So, well, hey, I really appreciate you having me on. So, yeah, thank you
Oh
so
yeah.
much, and I'm glad I could help you relaunch
Well,
the
I really
Monday
appreciate
live series. So,
and everybody that come back to see me, I so appreciate you guys. I really do. Scott and Lori and JD and Brett and all of you. And if I didn't mention you by name, I'm sorry because I've only got so much of a screen and I have a horrible time bringing names to the forefront for some reason. So, hey, I really appreciate everybody being here. So, you guys hang in there with me. I will let you know if I can get somebody on for next Monday. I'll let you know as early as
if
I
not,
can.
I'll volunteer Jess,
Okay.
and then I'll sit in the other room and watch. But anyways, yeah, thank you so much, man.
All right.
For
Well, hang
having
out
me.
for just a second, brother.
All right.